I have quite a mess to go through. I have things that need to be put into the raised beds. I have things that need to be moved into containers. We got some rain. We have been getting lots of rain here in central Indiana, and it's going to be really nice this weekend. This is Easter weekend, and if you guys celebrate, happy Easter. Have a blessed weekend with your loved ones. I am working in the garden. I am very, very busy. We have a lot of projects to do this weekend. And one of those projects is installing my irrigation. Finally. I'm going to show you all of that. But really quick, I am going to be taking you to this bed where I planted a few things already. I have my onions planted here. I got these set from Dixondale Farms. I'll put it on the screen. I got them from there last year and they did amazing. I have a section of sugar snap peas there towards the back. I have some that I direct sowed, and I have some that I started indoors. They're doing okay. They're doing fine. They will be just fine. And I also, in this empty spot right here between the two sets of onions, I got a bunch of lettuce and spinach, and yeah, things are looking good. I just did this last week, so I don't expect any germination just yet, but pretty soon all of this spot right here is going to be full with vegetables and leafy greens, and hopefully we'll get some onions this summer. This beautiful tile raised bed is the one that I used last January. I think that I showed you that video when I was planting all of these tulips here. They were already huge. These tulips were already huge, but I came here a couple of weeks ago and I had to add a bunch of soil to this raised bed because it was really getting low, and I had to completely cover the growth of the tulips. And I mean, that is fine because look at them, they are coming along very nicely. And I think that the beets that I started indoors a couple of weeks ago, I think they're going to go in the front of this bed. I think that it just makes sense because I don't have any tulips there towards the front, and hopefully I can let the beets, the germinating, the seedlings, I can let them be on this turf there. And once these tulips here in 2 or 3 weeks or so, once they're big enough and they're starting to show buds, I will remove them completely, bulb and all, and I'll probably put a free sign outside to my neighbors so they can enjoy the blooms. But these tulips are just so pretty. I really need to get my irrigation system done here this year. Last year I was using a couple of hoses, soaker hoses from HOSELINK USA. I think that I showed you a quick video on how I had those installed. And they were great. They were a huge help. They are not supposed to be for raised beds, for irrigation for raised beds, because they are one length, one solid 50 feet length, I believe. And I had one hose per raised bed, and whatever I could cover for those, it was a huge help. Because whenever I was out here, I would just plug in my hose directly to those hoses for each bed. And while I was doing something else outside, that was a huge help for watering the raised beds. But I really do need to install something, a system that is automatic, that I know that it will be done on Mondays and Thursdays or whatever I have it set up to, that I can just rely on. And I did a lot of research, I watched a lot of videos, and I decided on something that I think that is going to work for me. So hopefully I can show you all of that. I love hand watering, you guys. This was a huge decision for me because I love to be out here hand watering everything. It gives me a chance to look at everything in detail, to enjoy being outside. But honestly, the amount of stuff that I have here to water, containers, garden beds, raised beds, green stock, all of that is going to take me a lot of time. And while I do enjoy hand watering my things, I also enjoy working in the soil, planting things, trimming, pruning, all of that. So if I can have something done for me already, like watering, then that's a huge help. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to do hand watering, of course, but just having something automatic, I think is just going to be a huge time saver. It is already very sunny out here, so I am going to try to make this quick for you guys. The stuff that I'm going to be using is just a combination of a bunch of things. I am using regular 1/4 inch brown tubing for my actual irrigation part, and these guys have the emitters every 6 inches. So 1 emitter here, 1 emitter here. The emitters are already inside of this brown tubing, so I don't have to worry about popping every single emitter that I want to use. And I know that a lot of people use that. I just don't think that's going to work for me. I just don't want to make a hole for every single plant that I have in my raised beds. I plant very heavily, so I think that something like this is just going to work great for me. And I am also going to be using regular 1/2 inch black tubing pipes, and those are mainly for taking the water where I need them to be. Those are basically going to be carrying the water to each raised bed, and I am going to get a combination of those with this brown tubing, and I think that's just going to work out great. Everybody seems to use this system. A lot of people use either a combination of these and a different type of tubing for getting the water where they need it. And I'm going to show you every single accessory that I'm using and connectors and all of the things. But the way that you're going to set up your irrigation system is just going to depend entirely on how your garden is set up. If you have water access to where you need the irrigation, if you need to get hoses to where you need them to go. I have a HOSELINK that I have really close to my raised beds where I have a hose. I have that hose coming from the house, and that hose brings the water to my HOSELINK. So I am going to be using, right at that part, I'm going to be using a two-way, a splitter, one that is just going to feed my irrigation system and one that is going to feed my HOSELINK, because I need water for that HOSELINK all the time. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. But before you start getting into an irrigation system, see what you need, see what you have to work with, and decide what system you want to do it. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this today for my garden, so that if you have never seen an irrigation video before, you can kind of get an idea of how things work. I am not an expert on this. I'm just going with what I have from what I watch, and I encourage you to do a lot of research, watch a lot of videos of what people are using, check reviews. If you have friends who have this already done in their gardens, ask them how they like their irrigation system. What I have found is that a lot of people do go with the system and they don't like it for whatever reason, and I just try to get reviews that way. So let me show you what all of these little things are. I have a whole thing of accessories here, and you can buy this as a kit, you can buy them as single individual things depending on how many you want. I have, let me just start with something here. This is an on and off. This right here is an on and off bulb. Basically every single raised bed that I'm going to have with irrigation is going to have one of these, where I can easily just go there and turn the water on and off. That way, if I don't have anything growing on that raised bed, I don't have to have the irrigation going for that single raised bed. So this is definitely a must, and this is something that I really wanted to do, because sometimes, like right now, I have a bed with a few things for cold hardy things, but the rest of the beds don't really have anything going on. So if I just want to have water for one of those beds, I can just turn off the valves for the rest of them, and that will work great. I also have these elbows. These are basically if I am going around the corner of one of my raised beds where I need to turn, this will make it easier so that I'm not blocking, I am not kinking the black tubing. And these are for the 1/2 inch. I am using 1/2 inch black pipe, so these are accessories for my 1/2 inch black tubing. So this is, and the reason why I like these guys is because this is where you're going to have your 1/2 inch tubing coming in here, and this guy is going to be an extra step, an extra security for attaching those pieces, and I'll show you how that works here in a minute. The same idea with this guy, but this is basically if you want to bring this to two different ways. This, I'm not even sure what this is called, but this is one that I'm going to be using a lot. And I have a connection here for my water hose to my 1/2 inch. I'll show you how I'll use this. I only need a couple of these really. I got a packet of 3. I have some clamps. I have clamps that I'm going to be using. These are galvanized 1/2 inch clamps. And I also have one of these garden staples so that I can easily use, if I don't want my black hose to be around, I'll try to hide it as best as I can, but these two guys are also going to help me keep it in place. And a lot of these things, you guys, they're just gonna make sense to show you how I use them, because right now, if you have no clue about what those things are, you're probably just like, have no idea. And this guy, I have to go buy it today because I realized I didn't have one. This is just like a hole maker for when I connect my brown tubing to my black pipe, to my 1/2 inch black tubing. This is going to help me make the holes to attach my 1/4 inch tubing. And my good old end caps, whenever I am done placing the 1/2 inch tubing around the beds, wherever I need to end that tubing, this is going to be my end cap. So super handy. So let me start putting this on. I am going to try to place everything how I think I want it, and then I'll show you towards the end or halfway through what I have going. That way you can have an idea how I'm utilizing all of these accessories. Okay, hopefully you can see me. So this right here is where I have the water coming from the house. This is where I have the water access, and my hose trailer, if you can see it, it's right over there, really close to the raised bed. So what I have here, I have a regular hose, just like a regular hose, and that hose comes across this path. And it goes all the way on the outside. It's all the way on the outside of this garden flower bed. And I have it going. And right here, it's where it feeds my HOSELINK. And that is on the whole time, all there for the winter. And that is basically feeding my HOSELINK right now. What I want to do is that I want to have the connection right there, because my first raised bed is right there. That's where my kitchen garden starts. So it's not really too far from the house. So I have the connection, I have the water access right there. And that's where I'm going to split basically the two water lines. One line is just going to be my irrigation, and the other line is just going to be completely for the HOSELINK, for the hose reel. So that way, whenever I need water, it's on immediately. I don't have to turn anything on and off. And the rest will be on a timer. And I got a really nice timer that I'll show you here in a minute. But that's basically the idea. And because the way that this property is, the elevation, it's a little bit weird. Where the camera is, where you guys are right now, it's a little bit more elevated than where I am. So the gravity just comes down here. So ideally, I don't want to be pushing the water. I don't want to be feeding the water towards the higher side of the property. I want to take the water all the way up, and from there, I am going to distribute it down. I hope that makes sense. Somebody mentioned this in one of their videos, and I was like, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. So that's what I'm going to do. What I'm going to start is that I'm going to get my black pipe tubing, my black 1/2 inch pipe, and I'm going to take it all along behind the beds. I'm going to take it all the way to the back of the raised beds, and from there I'm going to start placing it where I need it to distribute the water, and from there I'll just show you what else to do. It's going to be a long day, but it's a beautiful day outside, so